Hey guys, Don here from Novaspirit Tech and welcome back to the channel, and today we are going to be checking out Windows 11 on the Raspberry Pi 4, so let's get started. Now you've probably seen it here before with Windows 10 running on the Raspberry Pi 4 as well as running on ESXi on the Raspberry Pi. Now we have Windows 11 running on the Raspberry Pi 4, which still impresses me. Now this is definitely just for proof of concept. I wouldn't recommend using this as a desktop, but nevertheless it's still really cool to be able to run Windows 11 on the Raspberry Pi 4. As far as getting the ISO, you could actually grab it from UUP, the newer site of UUP, and you could probably Google it and be able to find the website. If not, you could also head over to Windows on Raspberry Pi Discord. They should have a link available somewhere on there. Now the installation process is pretty simple. All you have to use is a tool called Windows on Raspberry Pi, or WOR, and the version is 2.1.2 I believe as of making this video. And the installation process is pretty straightforward. You just follow the steps, and nothing has changed from installing Windows 10 to Windows 11. It's exactly the same process. It'll actually create the SD card image for you, and that's it. Now I am running this on a Raspberry Pi 4 4GB and on SD, not on an SSD or hard drive or anything. So it is going to be a little bit slow, but it still works. All right, so here we have Windows 11 booted up, and first thing I'm going to show you is my task manager, and let's see. If I can head over to performance, and keep in mind I am running this on SD card, so it is going to be a little bit sluggish because, you know, the read and write capabilities of an SD card is very low. So on fresh boot, it's about like 1.92 gigabytes of RAM depending on what you have. So I have the 4GB model, and you can overclock. I tried overclocking, but it doesn't work. So you're going to be stuck at 1.5 unless you use the Pi 400, which I have right over here, which is 1.8. Then you have your SD card, which is pretty decent, and then the Ethernet. Now, the team at WOR created great drivers to get a lot of stuff working, including Ethernet drivers, but there is no Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, so if you're going to have to use anything like that, you are going to be using a dongle. Now, if I head over to Device Manager, you're going to also notice that there is a lot of devices that are not ready yet. We just don't have drivers for it. So there's no GPIO or anything that you can, maybe GPIO, because I remember Windows 10, we were able to trigger some stuff with the GPIO, but otherwise we're really just stuck with basic drivers. Stacking on top of the basic drivers, I tried to install a game, but since we don't have graphic drivers, the game will not start. Like, let me leave this up and running on the top right corner so you guys can kind of see what's going on. And here I'm trying to run fast and light, but it won't work because it doesn't have graphic drivers, so it's just going to start and stop. The start menu is pretty cool on this Windows 11. You could actually change it from left to right to make it look like Windows 10. To be honest, I feel like this was like a themed version of Windows 10. That's what I get the feeling from. I mean, nothing much has changed. If I go into File Manager, it looks exactly the same as it would. And running off SD card, this is still pretty responsive. I gotta be honest with you. Now, it does work with multiple applications, so if you are planning to use x86, 64-bit, or ARM32 or ARM64, they all work. And I do like to use Crystal Disk Mark because they come with all 4 versions. So if I'm going to start something with x86, let me see. I should do this screen. There you go. And it would pop up and it should work automatically. There you go. Now, if I was to run the 64-bit version, x86, oh, sorry, x64, it actually runs a little bit faster too if you're using the 64-bit. You saw how fast that boot up compared to 32-bit. And this is all emulated. This is not native to the CPU that you have on this guy because we have ARM64. So if I was to pull up ARM64, this is even faster when it boots up compared to the 64-bit because it's native. But yeah, it works on any application. So if you guys got applications that need to be used on Windows 10, something lightweight that doesn't require graphic drivers, you could probably turn this little Windows 11 or Windows 10, whatever you want to call it, into a mini server. And if you're installing the Pro version, you could actually enable remote desktop support. So, I mean, remote desktop in general. So if I go over to, I did enable it already, but if I do remote desktop settings right over here, see, I like the new icons. The new icons look pretty good. You could enable remote desktop, grab the IP from this guy, and you could RDP right into this Raspberry Pi. So for $50, you have your own little headless Windows 11 server or Windows 10 server if you plan to do this on Windows 10. But yeah, with the ability that supports x86 and 64-bit, a wide array of applications work. Like Fast and Light is 32-bit, and I was able to turn it on. Obviously, like I said, because we don't have graphic drivers, it's not going to run, but otherwise it works. Now trying to run video files like 1080 60 frames per second, I am going to use the native player, but you're going to see it's not going to play very well. That's going to be very sluggish. This doesn't really happen when you're playing YouTube videos, but definitely does when you're trying to use their native video player. So you see how it's just skipping, and it's like 1 frame for every 5 seconds. Now jumping into the Edge browser, which I don't mind using because in itself it's technically Chrome or Chromium, so it actually runs pretty well. I'm gonna pop over to YouTube and play some sort of file. Let's see. It does take a little bit to load. It is not the fastest thing in the world. I'm just showing you the CPU. You can see it on top right what it's doing. But if I head over to my channel and take a look at my latest video, if you guys haven't seen it, I made a head unit for the Raspberry Pi. I've also played around with the dongle thing. But yeah, let's see. The preview shows up pretty quick. Let me see how it looks when I'm trying to do... Okay, it plays really well on YouTube. So let me skip this ad, pop over to my favorite part. It's the part where I'm actually like putting it together. I'm just talking about it over here. So yeah, it is pretty cool. Works very, very well. Let me see if I do stats for nerds. I do have 10 drop frames. And what setting am I in? I am on 1080, okay. That's pretty cool. Still got some drop frames, but you're actually able to use it. That's the point. Ultimately, again, this is just a proof of concept. I wouldn't recommend running this as a regular desktop, but if you need to run something quick or run some software that you want to run 24 hours a day that doesn't require much power to run, you could run it right off a Raspberry Pi now. Again, with the installation process not being too difficult, it is not that hard to get this running. Now, as far as the store goes, they have the Microsoft Store. It is still the old store. It's not the new one, so you can't install Android apps on this version yet. But the later versions, you should be able to install Android apps on here. This is still the same store as you would find on Windows 10. As far as task view, everything works. I mean, I have no problem. Oh, they do the rounded corners here. I don't know why they didn't carry that through yet. It's really not finished or polished. Oh, they have widgets now too. I don't know how to really get this going. You do have to sign in with your Microsoft account to get widgets. So it's like GNOME, where you have to do widgets. Now, because I'm not activated, I can't change any of the task or the settings like that. So if I wanted to move this bar to the left or even show you dark mode, I can't because it's locked down because of the activate Windows Now thing. And there's no way to really activate it since it's Windows 11. There's really nothing out that you could actually upgrade this to. So, I mean, I could take a Windows 10 machine and probably upgrade it and get that activated, but as of now, this is where we're stuck at. Well, that is it for me, guys. If you guys are interested in testing something specific, leave it down in the comments below and I'll let you know if it works or not. In most cases, since it's all 64-bit, anything that's not a game or requires drivers, you should be able to run. So if you have any applications that you want me specifically to test, yeah, I would give it a go and let you know if it's going to work or not. Now, I know someone always asks me about MetaTrader. It does work with MetaTrader 64-bit because it supports it. Also, the latest version of Windows 10 Insider Preview also supports MetaTrader. So if you guys are asking about that, it does work. Anyway, if you guys are new to this channel, consider subscribing. Also hitting that bell notification icon so you know when the next video is going to be out. And as I say in my nerd cave, hack till it hurts.